What's up, Royals? I'm Kai. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, I'm going to be revealing the Black Pastel Cypress Pied. So stick around. You're watching Lucas Landon Royals. All right, Royals, so if you have been subscribed to me on this channel or following me on the other social media platforms, you know the anticipation for this clutch is real. I posted bits and pieces of this clutch on Instagram and Facebook, and 2 weeks ago I posted the egg cutting video of this clutch right here on this channel. And since then, my messages and emails have been flooded with comments and questions about this clutch, but mostly interests on purchasing animals from this clutch. Of course, you guys know I'm a bit of a hoarder. Not a bit, I am a hoarder. And so being this is the first time I'm producing Cypress pieds with Black Pastel, I can't help it but to keep them. However, if you want to know about the next Cypress pied clutch, make sure you're subscribed and follow me on Instagram and Facebook, because there's actually a clutch cooking right now in the incubator, and that is the Cypress Het Pied to Enchi Pied Het Hypo. And depending on the results of that clutch, there's a slim chance I may release a couple animals out of this clutch. I'm not going to tease you any longer. I don't want to hold things up, so let's get on with the update. Guys, if you were excited when you saw the egg cutting video, and by the way, I'll put a link to that one up here, then you will be extremely satisfied with the outcome of this. So I'm going to build up the suspense a little bit by first showing you the non-visual pieds. But still, this is a beautiful animal, and this is the Black Pastel Cypress Het Pied. I mean, look at the ringer, or try to be ringer, right there. It's coming up. You can see the oranges. And how do I know this is Cypress? Well, this being the first time I'm working or producing Cypress, I don't 100% know for sure. But what I do know is that a Black Pastel doesn't typically look like this. Black Pastels, the dorsal is well, they usually call them like blackback. The pattern when most of the dorsal is black, and all you get is a couple of these little dashes in between. Sometimes there's a lot of dashes, sometimes there's very little dashes, but the fact that this one is a almost completely connected dorsal tells me there's something else going on in here. Now, that could be the Het Pied influence. We do see the ringer being Het Pied influence. We do see some of this connectivity of these alien heads. That's Het Pied influence as well. This is a little bit strange to me. If he would turn, come on, I want to show you the eye band. You see how it just kind of fades back here? It just fades away. I don't see that in Black Pastel much. They're usually just short, and they're very defined, very crisp. So the yellow short eye band that ends kind of like right about there. But this one's different. It's also got a little bit more of a reddish rusty tone. It's hard to see that in the camera. I think the next one has a little bit more definitive color, but I want to show this one off to you first, and let's move on to the next one. So this is a great angle right here. You can see a little bit more of the reddish undertone. Now, part of that is because it is close to the ringer. This one also has a bit of a ringer. You can see that right there, how it's breaking up. It looks like it's paradox, but it's actually close to the tail. So I would consider it a ringer. It's trying to come up. The white's trying to come up right there, and then on this side right there as well, I think. But definitely the one by the tail, I would consider a ringer. Again, we have this blushed, not blush, but faded out eye band. It just fades away, and again we have this almost completely solid dorsal. Now this one is actually not as solid as the last one. It's got more of these dashes, but it does have a bit of like I said, a more reddish undertone. So I'm under the assumption where I'm going to go with my gut and say that both of these, this one and the last one, Black Pastel, Cypress, Het Pied. And I think I got a 1.1. I believe this is the female, the last one is the male. So now that you know what I'm looking at, and by the way, kind of just keep in mind this section right here, what this looks like. All right, this side pattern. Just let that kind of burn into your brain for a little bit, because we're going to come back to this in just a few snakes. All right, so our first visual one out of this clutch. Now, I've hatched many pieds in my short little breeding career, and this doesn't look like any normal pied. It's much brighter, and I know it's hard to see that when I'm only showing you one animal. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple other pieds from different clutches, and we'll do a little bit of a comparison. All right, so for comparison, I have this pied, and for all I know, this is just a regular pied. I do want to disclose that this one is possible het for axanthic, disclosing that because we know that sometimes the hets do influence the appearance slightly. Yeah. So anyway, let's just assume that's a pied, and then this one is our Cypress pied. And we can compare the colors. Let me see. Here, I'll do it this way. You can see that there is a difference in the color. The saddles are a little bit more darker. Sometimes you get black outlines like this. Sometimes they're more intense. Sometimes they're lighter, like this saddle. This area hardly has any. But over here, you can see this one hardly has any outline. Very similar to Vesper, which is another morph that doesn't have the black outline. We know this is Cypress though, not Vesper. I don't have Vesper in my collection at all. And overall, you can just see that this one is darker. Overall, it's going away. It's going away, getting out of frame. So you might think the Cypress pied looks similar to Orange Dream, although if I throw a picture on the screen, you'll see that the Orange Dream is much more orange than the Cypress. The Cypress doesn't really add orange to its color. It's more exposing what was already there by removing some of the darker pigments. The other gene that you might want to compare it to is Pastel, because we all know Pastel brightens up the animal as well. But Pastel has a very different look to it, because the Pastel adds a little bit more, not adds, but brightens it to the point where it's more blown out to a more yellower color. And this one, as you can see, retains all the oranges that was there. Also, the pattern on the Pastel is a little bit different. A lot of pastels have more striping, and then along the sides has a lot more little dots on the side of that dorsal stripe. So just wanted to show you those for comparison. Check this one out. So again, we have very, very bright orange saddles. Wherever there's pattern, it's bright orange. Look at that, beautiful. And I told you earlier that the pattern on the pied is very highly variable. On the last one, we got a lot of saddles that look like this, where it's just orange with two lines. And this one does have it as well, but look at up here. It's very different, very wacky. So whenever there's a lot of pattern, you get this wackiness. And remember earlier on, 2 snakes ago, I believe, I showed you a Cypress Black Pastel, and I told you to burn an image of its side pattern into your mind. But look at this. Look at this side. Okay, just this section right here. Look at this side. It looks almost identical to that other one. So I believe this to be a little bit of a paradox right there. So there's a little bit of the Black Pastel color and pattern coming through right there in that little section, which is really cool. By the way, the last Cypress pied is a female. I think this one is a female as well. So definitely holding on to a lot of the animals that I produced, especially since this is my first Cypress clutch, and I got some visual pieds out of it as well, from a het to a pied pairing. We did great on the odds, by the way, when it comes to hitting some visual pieds. Really in love with this one, especially because it's a paradox. Just makes it extra special, and it has a bit more pattern than the last one. But hopefully this little girl will get up to size and we can make some beautiful combos. All right, up next, this one is extremely unique. Same pattern as the paradox part that you saw before. You can see it looks very similar to that paradoxy part that we saw in the last one. This one I believe to be maybe a world's first, because nobody has told me otherwise, or maybe I just didn't read the comments. Cypress Black Pastel pied, and I really believe that it has Cypress in it because, I mean, just look at, first of all, it doesn't look like a typical black pastel pied. You get some orangeness that comes in from the face, the nose. You got more orange that comes in right here. That color, that grayish color, is not typical that I've seen. The saddle, very unique. I've already said that this looks very similar to the paradox part, but a typical black pastel pied saddle is usually very uniform in color, very dark, and you might get a little bit of a, you know what, I have another one, let me just show you. All right, this guy is always a pain because he's always trying to run off, but we'll try to do this quickly. You see what I'm saying? It's very dark. You get a little bit of a highlight right there down the center, but that's pretty much it. And he's that way all throughout. He also doesn't have the orange color. He doesn't have that gray color right behind his face or right on the neck. See, there's not much gray. It's more of a brownish black, and then it has a little bit of highlight underneath it. But what really sets that last hatchling apart is the pattern. You can see there's just a bit of highlight along the dorsal, and he's that way throughout all of his saddles. Anywhere that he's patterned, it looks very solid with just a tiny bit, tiny bit of highlight. And this one doesn't even have that highlight. You don't see that very distinct stripe highlight down its middle. So I'm going to put this guy away and we'll focus back on this one. Extremely different saddle, right? I mean, the only other thing that I can think of is maybe that this is paradox section as well, but regardless, it's a beautiful animal, and I just wanted to show this off to you one more time. Basically, I want to convince you that this is the Cypress Black Pastel pied, because the next one, there's going to be no doubt what it is. Am I right? Do you have any doubts that this is anything other than a Cypress Black Pastel pied? So it's got the same kind of orangish undertone around the pattern that we saw in the last one behind the head. Same orange color, same orange tone. And you can see this has more pattern, so you get more of the gray colors coming through, just like we saw in the last one behind the head. This one has some gray as well right there. But because this one has more pattern and it's a little bit of a different pattern, you get this grayness in these as well, all along the sides. And this one has a bit of a chocolatey color that's kind of hard to pick up in this camera. And hopefully that'll develop a little bit more as this girl ages, and it is a girl. Yeah, hopefully it'll develop a little bit more so that we can capture it on camera maybe the next time I give you an update on this clutch. But don't worry, not most of these are going to stay. Maybe one might become available, and it's that male that I first showed off that's non-pied. That might become available, I'm not sure. But for now, I just want to see these guys grow. They haven't had any meals yet. They literally just shed last night. All of them finished shedding. So we're gonna get some more meals into them. And like I said, hopefully they grow up and produce some beautiful combos. But yeah, super, super happy about this one. And like I said, there's no doubt that this is Cypress Black Pastel. Just gorgeous, gorgeous pied. Really happy about this one. Again, similar to some of my other videos, I'm gonna throw in some B-roll at the end so you guys can enjoy these animals one last time. I lied, I don't have B-roll. Well, I kind of do. I took the B-roll with my phone in portrait mode, and of course this video is in landscape, so it's not gonna work out too well, but what I figured I would do is post the videos of those individual animals as reels and shorts, and then that way you guys will still be able to see it whether you're on YouTube or Instagram. So that's what I'm gonna do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel and you want to be informed of future uploads, make sure you're subscribed and ring that notification bell. As always, thanks for watching. Please share, and remember, Royals for life. Peace out.